Brought to you by the Getty Refining and Marketing Company. Take your cap off to Getty. Ken's Pizza, the pizza that brings you back. Dr. Pepper, be a pepper. Budweiser, the king of beers. Quick Trip, selling Roughneck tickets 24 hours a day, every day. And Transfund, making financial services even more convenient for you. Tulsa Cable Sports Channel 17 and Roughnecks Soccer 83. Along the shores of the Pacific Ocean. Soccer Bowl 1983 from Vancouver, British Columbia. Matching two teams that have worked very hard to get here. From the Eastern Division, the Toronto Blizzard. The Southern Division champs, the Tulsa Roughnecks. After a stunning upset of the Vancouver Whitecaps in round one, the Blizzard took on Golden Bay in round two. This is game 3 in Toronto, and Neil Roberts got the second goal after David Byrne had scored the first one, and the Blizzard came away with a 2-1 series victory, winning this game by a 2-0 score. The coach of the Blizzard, Bobby Houghton.
Well, it's been a very good season for us. It's nice that we're going to finish it playing in the championship final today. I think the turnaround for us has been late in the season, getting everybody fit and healthy coming into the playoffs, particularly Ace Nitzelinga and Roberto Bediger, who've really made a difference to us in our attacking play. The two front players are scoring goals. Our defence has been good all season, so I think we've got a great chance to win the game.
But the Tulsa Roughnecks have other ideas. They came home for crucial game 3 of their series on Wednesday night, and Ron Futcher, number 8, was the big man getting that first goal. And on this second one, a little help from the left wing by Niego Pesa. Futcher right there to knock it home. He got 2 of Tulsa's 3 goals as the Roughnecks swept to a 3-0 win going away from Lemonique de Montreal. Head coach of the Roughnecks, Terry Hennessy.
We had a horrendous start to the season due to 1 or 2 factors, injuries, and especially key defenders being out of action. And we went to 2-8, and things looked very bleak indeed. However, the spirit in the camp, and especially when we beat Fort Lauderdale in a double overtime game, that started to turn things round, and from then on in we were very, very positive, both in our attitude and the way we played. Today's game is a tremendous event for both sets of players, and I just want our guys to go out there today, stick to the pre-game plan, enjoy it. It's the best day in their lives, and hopefully we'll come away with the right result.
In front of a big crowd at BC Place in Vancouver, British Columbia. It's the 1983 North American Soccer League Championship game as the Toronto Blizzard meet the Tulsa Roughnecks in Soccer Bowl 83. Today's game is brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers and proud sponsor of the 1984 Olympics. For all is the trophy that both teams are after here tonight. It's also the name of the game as the Tulsa Roughnecks meet the Toronto Blizzard here at BC Place in Vancouver. The 1983 championship of the North American Soccer League is up for grabs. Good evening. I'm Bob Carpenter. You might call this the Soccer Bowl that nobody really expected. I think everybody expected the defending champion New York Cosmos to be here against the host team, the Vancouver Whitecaps. Vancouver, as we told you, fell in round 1 to the Toronto Blizzard, a very talented team. While the Cosmos were upset in round 1 as well, a stunning upset by Lemonique de Montreal, the team that Tulsa upset to get here. I have the opportunity, the outstanding opportunity tonight, to work with a couple of men who have not only coached in soccer bowls, but have won soccer bowls. 1972, the Cosmos won it. Gordon Bradley was the coach. Al Miller is down on the field. 1973, he was the winning coach with the Philadelphia Adams. Coach, nobody expected these two teams to be here. What exactly got them here?
Bob, I've got to say that both teams have gotten here through aggressive, enthusiastic styles of play. They've got great individuals and they've got good teamwork going. I think a lot of the credit is due to the two coaches who have brought these teams along at the right time, the playoff time, and we are now seeing both of them playing at their best at this particular time.
Especially the Tulsa Roughnecks. They won 15 of their last 20 regular season games, have now won 4 of 5 playoff games, so they have won 19 of their last 25 games. A bit of controversy surrounding the Tulsa team with a guy named Ron Futcher. We'll go down to Al Miller. He'll talk to Howard Samuels about that.
Well, 1973, as coach of the Philadelphia Adams, I remember so well the anxieties that go into a coach's mind before a game. It's a tremendous moment. It's a dream of every player and coach to play in a final. And it's just one of the great things that happens to people in the world of sports. And a great thing has happened to Howard Samuels, the president of North American Soccer League. Howard Howard. Your comments on a great effort by Vancouver people on a sellout crowd.
Sellout, 60,000 seats have been sold. In fact, we opened it up for television in Vancouver, so some of the people may stay home, the loyalists at Vancouver. But again, shows that soccer is alive. It's the fastest growing sport in the U.S. and in Canada, and they're going to see a great game today, Al.
Howard, you've had lots of tough decisions to make over the years since you've joined the North American Soccer League, but you had really a tough one to make yesterday, deciding whether Ron Futcher could play. Your comments on that, please.
Well, I just think, you know, this is the final, and I don't want any excuses by anybody. I want the fans to be happy, and I think Soccer Bowl is a time when we just have to be a little more flexible in the rules. Tough decision. I made it, and everybody supported it.
Well, congratulations on your courage to make that. We need good leadership, Howard. And back up to you, Bob.
Thank you, Al Miller. As we told you, these teams were not among the league's elite when it came to point totals. The Roughnecks, despite winning the South, 145 points as the 5th highest team in the league, and the Toronto Blizzard with 135. They were the 7th highest team in the league. Gordon Bradley, an analysis now of the Toronto team and the key players that got them here to Soccer Bowl.
Obviously, Bob, we've got to credit Ace Netzalanki for missing most of the season through a bad knee injury and coming back for the last 6 league games of the season and all the playoffs. He is the playmaker of the team. He is the thinker of the team. He is the innovator and creator. And I think he is the one special reason why the team is gelling now better than before. Obviously, David Byrne. I cannot say enough about this player. He's an individualist. He works and works and works and gets the best out of the other players. His work rate rubs off onto the other players. He's had a tremendous season. I look for him being a very dangerous player against Tulsa today.
Al Miller's Tampa Bay Rowdies, of course, in the Southern Division against the Tulsa Roughnecks and others. Al, what about the key players for Tulsa that got them here to Soccer Bowl?
Well, Ron Futcher, you know, Bob, he stirs the pot. He makes things happen, and he produces under those conditions. He scores goals. He scores big goals when they need them. His counterpart, Laurie Abrams, he makes things happen around Laurie. And, of course, Barry Wallace, for me, is the key man in the match perhaps today because his job, as Terry Hennessy told me before the game, he wants him to get behind Bettega, to keep getting up and join the front players, and try to make Bettega chase him instead of him being chasing Bettega all day. As you know, Tulsa is a feisty team. They work hard. They've overcome incredible odds this season. At one point in time, they were 2-8. They won 15 out of the next 20, and here they are in Soccer Bowl. A great achievement for a great coach, Terry Hennessy, and a fine soccer club.
Thank you. Next, we will have the and of course we'll have the starting lineups for you coming up next after this timeout from your local stations. The Roughnecks love Tulsa. They hope they love Vancouver after this game today.
Gas prices can drive you crazy.
The action got underway just seconds ago. It's Tulsa in their white uniforms, trimmed in red, going from right to left, and Toronto in their red and blue going from left to right. And we're going to get a yellow card very early in the game against Toronto's number 17, Derek Spalding, who really did Tulsa's number 3, Barry Wallace. Al Miller talked about what a key. Well, it looks like Diego Pesa is the man who is down. He really got hit hard here by Derek Spalding as Spalding came out of the backfield and really whacked him.
Well, Bob, we can talk about aggressive play, but I think this was just overdone by Derek Spalding. He's somewhat lucky just to get the yellow card there. That was a blatant foul, and certainly wasn't the yellow card. And Mr. Ed Belly and the referee is talking to Derek Spalding now, telling him, hey, cool it now, early.
The Tulsa Roughnecks will have a free kick opportunity just outside the 35-yard line. They've got Futcher, Abrahams, Terry Moore, a big defender who comes up on dead ball situations in the penalty area. They play it square to Adam Krupa. Now he crosses it. Abrahams a piece of it. Futcher! Oh, he just hit it over the bar. Great setup there by Laurie Abrahams with a couple of headers, and Futcher on the full volley narrowly misgiving Tulsa an early 1-0 lead.
Certainly a good play there by Futcher. We see him receiving the ball in a difficult situation, in a tight situation, kind of semi-controls it with his head, nods it over to Futcher, who drills it over the bar for a very good effort by Tulsa.
That would have been a very difficult save for Jan Moeller had it been on goal. This is Victor Moreland heading it out. You're looking at Pesa, the injured player who is back up now. Toronto's Cliff Calvert, the man who set up the winning goal against Golden Bay at home last week. Right side player with a great foot. Pesa guarding him. It comes loose for Laurie Abrahams for Tulsa. Abrahams got a little bit of a nick from behind from Jimmy Nickel. And now Connie Carlson, number 4, takes down Pesa again, who's getting a rude welcome to his first soccer ball. It'll be Ivan Belfiore here after the Tulsa dead ball situation. Barry Wallace, 2-bouncer for Ron Futcher. Belfiore through the legs of Nickel, intercepting David Byrne, the very industrious forward for the Toronto Blizzard. At midfield, Neil Roberts. It's Belfiore slide tackling it away from him, so Tulsa controls with Victor Moreland and now Terry Moore. It looks like Tulsa has the early edge here, Gordon. They're possessing the ball and controlling it very nicely.
No question about it. Tulsa showing the mark early.
Midfield ball in the air. Terry Moore a header for Belfiore. Abrahams for Pesa. This is a polyglass surface here at BC Place. This one will go all the way down to the goalkeeper, Jan Moller, who will have to dribble it back inside the penalty area to pick it up with his hands.
Bob, generally we see the best games played by teams with contrasting styles. However, these two teams have got similar aggressive styles. It's a fast pace in the early going. If any team succumbs to a goal this time, it could be very, very critical.
Of course, we've got Al Miller, the Tampa Bay Rowdies coach, down on the field. Al, is it as rough as it looks like it is from up here at this time?
Well, there's a tremendous amount of intensity down here at the moment. A great start for Futcher, who has had 3 great touches on the ball, just missing the goal. And tremendous effort and concentration all over the field.
You're looking at the Toronto bench. Both players' benches are on the near touchline. Nice back heel pass intended for Ace Netzelenge from David Byrne. Barry Wallace got it back and ever so calmly, but a little bit dangerously, chipping it back for his goalkeeper, Winston Dubose. There's one of the great veterans in the league you're looking at. Dubose, formerly with Tampa, now with Tulsa. Outstanding goals against this year of 1.55 out of the University of Central Florida. David Byrne, watched by Victor Moreland. Neil Roberts trying to knock it down. Terry Moore makes the defensive play there for Tulsa. He puts it over the near touchline, so Toronto will have a throw-in just outside the 35-yard line. We'll take a quick timeout. We're scoreless in the opening minutes of Soccer Bowl 83. Bob Carpenter back along with Gordon Bradley at BC Place in Vancouver, British Columbia. We're scoreless in the opening minutes of Soccer Bowl 83. The caution to Derek Spalding of Toronto came at the 1:04 mark for that hard, aggressive tackle on Tulsa's Diego Pesa. Now the Roughnecks will have a free kick. The referee is Ed Bellion. He's in your picture right now. Ed is a native Englishman that lives now in Arlington, Texas. The senior linesman is Howard Kroll-Pfeiffer of Parsippany, New Jersey. The junior linesman, Gary Shugerts of Des Moines, Washington. And the reserve official is Bill Maxwell of Geneseo, New York. He will see action if any of the other officials have to be removed from the game. And Jimmy Nickel is getting a talking to from referee Bellion right now. And Toronto, very aggressive. You always hear about how tough of a team Tulsa is, Gordon, but Toronto's shown some muscle and a little more than that in the early going.
No question about it. They've got a... I think Futcher played on that one a little bit. However, Connie Carlson back there and Derek Spalding are very, very aggressive players. They're going to give nothing away today.
Derek Spalding against Ron Futcher has to be one of the more physical matchups that any teams have seen in the playoffs this year. The ball is back to the captain of the Roughnecks, Victor Moreland. You'll notice that his right thigh is taped. He was questionable for this game and came on to play. He has a thigh strain. Adam Krupa of Tulsa in the starting lineup, a strained groin, obviously playing. The only Tulsa player definitely out, Billy Caskey, with torn knee ligaments. Toronto is clean on the injury sheet. They are perfectly healthy for this game. This is Bruce Wilson, a chance to cross. In low, header, Roberto Betega. It was high and wide of the goal. It's to the near touchline now. It'll be off the head of Ivan Belfiore and a throw-in for the Toronto Blizzard, about 10 yards short of the right wing corner flag.
Robert Betega couldn't direct that one on goal. Nobody could, because we're looking at one of the better players as regarding heading the ball goes in Roberto Betega, recently acquired from the Juventus club of Italy.
Cliff Calvert, the long throw. Terry Moore in the air. They flicked it back with the header. Ball cleared away by Ivan Belfiore as well as Diego Pesa. Futcher leaves it for Pesa on the right wing. I don't think Krupa is going to be able to reach it.
Well, that's where we see one of the problems with synthetic surface. The ball never stops. It keeps rolling and rolling and rolling, and the player just has to give it everything he has to catch it.
Roberto Benega now is 32 years old, 6'1", 172. Had an outstanding game last Thursday night on our network when we visited Exhibition Stadium in Toronto to watch them beat Golden Bay 2-0.
And showed tremendous composure when it was needed in the second half when pressure was being exerted by the Golden Bay.
Iraj Danafard ahead for Diego Pesa. Connie Carlson there to make the defensive play. Val Fernandez pushed from behind by Roberts, but Wallace clears it for Terry Moore. Moore long ball, 18-yard line. It's Calvert heading it away. And Jimmy Nickel puts it to midfield onto the chest of Roberts. Benega pulls it down. To the Tulsa 35. Terry Moore, a good defensive play. He'll be called for the foul. And Toronto says, why did you call a foul when we had the soccer ball? Whatever happened to the advantage rule? I think Bellion called this because of the rough nature of the foul.
Well, I think the Tulsa player certainly played the ball first. Robert Bottega couldn't have the speed to get past him and kind of drew the foul.
Inside the 35-yard line now, Jimmy Nickel and Ace Netzelenge, the two players there. Wallace and Pesa, the Tulsa defensive wall. This one up over the top, no problem for goalkeeper Winston DeBose.
Great. Yeah, just that one though, eh?
It's Tulsa on the far side. Adam Krupa, the midfielder. Victor Moreland, and back to goalkeeper Winston DeBose. DeBose this year played every minute of every Tulsa game, 2,784 minutes. He had 5 shutouts. Jan Moeller of Toronto also had 5, and both teams have played outstanding defense in the playoffs. It'll be a foul on David Byrne. It'll be a free kick just in front of the near touchline. Val Fernandez for Barry Wallace. Ivan Belfiore for Adam Krupa. Tulsa has had the better of the possession so far by a pretty good margin. Pesa, 18-yard line. Bruce Wilson finally got rid of it. And it's Terry Moore on the left side for Ivan Belfiore. Abrahams for Krupa. Toronto has 7 players back on defense. And that doesn't include the goalkeeper at this time. Here's feisty little Iraj Danafard. Tried to go through about 3 Blizzard players. Now Terry Moore intercepts. And this will be a throw-in for Toronto on the near touchline. The clock shows 34:50 remaining in the first half of play. We are scoreless in Vancouver. Jimmy Nickel will be the throw-in man. Ahead for David Byrne. Ball laid off there for Randy Reagan, number 16. Byrne, first-time pass. Calvert, Belfiore, the man watching him. Tried to play it in for David Byrne. Val Fernandez marking him man for man. But Worden, I think it's obvious we're seeing man-to-man marking all over the place on the part of both teams. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Just over 34 minutes left in the first half of play. We are scoreless at soccer ball. Came dangerously close to making it a 1-0 score just moments ago.
David Byrne crossed the ball, and here we see Neil Roberts allowing it to go past. And there's Ace Netzelenge comes in, heads the ball, hits the crossbar, bounces down, and is cleared. Tremendous header, tremendous play by Toronto. The nearest they've gone certainly to a goal in today's game.
Terry Moore, the Tulsa player, with the head ball clearance there, and Netzelenge almost had a 1-0 lead for his team after a great decoy move by Neil Roberts. Bruce Wilson. It's Byrne heading it back in the middle. Adam Krupa, the man controlling. This is Iraj Danafard, the former Iranian international. Ivan Belfiore. Whoops.
Well, it's certainly very dangerous to play around with the ball like that in the 18-yard box when Neil Roberts is on hand.
Victor Moreland, former Northern Irish international.
Well, another mistake there by Moreland.
And it's Winston DeBose controlling now for the Tulsa Roughnecks. Former commissioner of the North American Soccer League, Phil Woosnam, down on the field with our man, Al Miller.
Well, some will say that the tireless work of Phil Woosnam is what made the North American Soccer League what it is today. And Phil, your comments on soccer in North America today.
Well, Al, I'm just happy to be one of an army of people at all levels of the sport who've worked so hard to see the game grow in the last 15 years. We know millions of youngsters playing the sport, and I really believe that now that we're seeing all the talent come into the professional leagues, we're going to be great World Cup powers, both Canada and the United States, very soon.
And Phil, what do you think about today's game?
It's a tense game. Obviously, some of the controversy around the game that's been up here in Vancouver in the press, I think there's an intense rivalry between these two teams. They have similar styles. It's producing a very tense start to the game.
And Phil, my last question is your comments on President Samuel's tough decision on allowing Futcher to play.
Well, you know, Howard gave it a tremendous amount of thought. It took him 2 days to work out the decision. I know he was aware that it could have been a controversial decision, but I'm quite sure that when he made the decision, he made it in the best interest of the league.
Thank you, Phil. Back up to you, Bob.
Ron Futcher has been a key man for Tulsa's offensive power here in the early part of the game. Nearly had a goal just about a minute in. Now the Roughnecks have a free kick at the 35-yard line. Adam Krupa will be the trigger man for Tulsa. Line drive, Futcher just couldn't reach it. It was cleared out of there by Derek Spalding. Futcher and Spalding will be singing "Me and My Shadow" throughout the ball game this evening, because everywhere Futcher goes, so does Derek Spalding.
That's for sure. And Bob, I'm just looking around at these strikers. We've got Neil Robertson, Futcher and Bettiga. Tremendous headers of the ball. We probably see some of the best headers of the ball in the North American Soccer League today in these three players.
Bobby Houghton, the coach of the Toronto Blizzard, he engineered a big upset when his team beat Vancouver in this stadium to move into round 2, and that's no easy task.
Although I think Toronto have come the nearest to scoring a goal in this game, I think he's got more reason for concern at this particular stage of the game than Terry Hennessy.
Everybody talks about creating offensive chances. Each team has created one very good one, but as you say, from a territorial standpoint, it's been mostly the guys in the white shirts so far. It's Victor Moreland on the near side after receiving it from his keeper. Pesa, the header, off the head of Connie Carlson, back to his left back, Bruce Wilson. Now Roberto Bettiga, the talented Italian midfielder. Nice return ball from Neil Roberts. Bettiga crossing. David Byrne lays it down. Roberts tried to walk through. Ball was blocked there by Val Fernandez after Byrne let it go. But the Blizzard played some classic wing soccer there as they brought it in toward the middle, and then they tried to walk their big man right through there. Too many white shirts to take care of him.
Well, of course, the initiator of that move, you see him there, Roberto Bettiga. And if Dannyford cannot close him out, we might have a problem for Tulsa then.
Back down to the sideline now. Al, what do you got for us?
Well, Bobby Houghton very upset at the moment because of that nasty tackle by Terry Moore from behind, and he's really been having a go at the assistant referee.
It'll be a Blizzard free kick inside the Tulsa defensive 35-yard line. I tell you, I think his facial expression says it all at this point.
Well, if we can remember how he's walking off the field at halftime last week in Toronto, there's a different face on Bobby's, different look on Bobby's face at the moment.
Bruce Wilson. Header, Bettiga, just too tall for him. It may have touched Ron Futcher on the way out.
Yeah,
and it will be the first corner kick of the game. It'll go to the Toronto Blizzard and Jimmy Nickel on the right side. Nickel, oddly enough, a right-footed kicker, so he'll actually bend it away from the keeper. Futcher got a piece of it over the top of Roberto Bettiga. Out on top, David Byrne, deflected on the way in. It'll be a corner kick, I believe. That's an interesting tactic to leave your attacking player with that great shot out near the 18-yard line, and Terry Hennessy's defense almost had a big problem right there.
Bob, it certainly give me a problem where he called all the defense out, because it takes one player to put the man onside, and then they have another problem.
Jimmy Nickel, the corner. Futcher, the head ball clearance. Derek Spalding will take the Toronto throw in. One bounce for Neil Roberts. Val Fernandez, the man watching him. Now Toronto asserting itself. You get the feeling the Blizzard building up to something here. Fernandez, the head ball clearance. It'll be another Toronto throw-in. About 30 yards to the right of the goalkeeper, Winston Dubose. And this is a very wide field. It's hard to use a throw-in as a weapon here because the field is 76 yards wide.
Certainly the longest or widest.
That's a ring. He may have been offside. No goal. Those are Tulsa fans cheering because the goal has been disallowed. Netzelenge was offside.
Certainly we weren't in line with it, Bob, but it looked as if he wasn't in offside position. Toronto player came in late. Snetzelenki was offside.
We'll take a timeout. The blizzard knocking on the door, but we're still scoreless. It's Toronto and Tulsa, 0-0. Neil Roberts of the Toronto Blizzard has been fouled inside the Tulsa 35-yard line by that tough defender, Terry Moore, who Bobby Houghton's been complaining about. So the Blizzard will have a good free kick opportunity. About 30 yards, maybe 28 yards directly in front of goalkeeper Winston DeBose. Definitely attacking territory here.
No question, Bob, and every Tulsa player is back in the 18-yard box.
Ron Futcher, Laurie Abrahams all back defending. It's obvious neither team wants to concede that first goal.
Bob, really not the best place to take a free kick because it's directly in the middle of the goal. It's somewhat awkward unless he drives it in.
Netzelenge. It was headed out by that Tulsa defensive wall, and now Abrahams clears it out to midfield. Now Tulsa will chase it a bit, and they'll go all the way back to goalkeeper Jan Moller. Jan Moller this year, 25 games, a goals against of 1.26, 5 shutouts. A whistle and a foul is called. David Byrne called for being on the back of defender Val Fernandez. There's a good look at that young man who Gordon Bradley knows is being coveted by many clubs across the waters right now.
David Byrne is a player that you've got to mark very, very closely for 90 minutes of the game, not 89, because if you don't, you put one across here, score the goal, you've lost the game.
Terry Morse pass ahead for Iraj Danifard. Went over the far touchline, and it'll be a throw-in for the Toronto Blizzard with just over 24 minutes remaining in the game. We got about a minute and a half to go before we reach the midway point of the first half of play.
Bob, I think the game has settled down somewhat from a ferocious first period, and I think we're seeing more soccer now being played by both teams. Toronto coming a little bit more into it.
Ron Futcher, the touch after Danifard got a piece of it. Danifard knocked down by Roberto Bettiga. Here comes Bettiga. Nice through ball, 18-yard line, but Winston DeBose alertly out of his net to cut off Randy Reagan, who was breaking right down the middle of the field.
Certainly was. Good anticipation there. The advantage rule is being played.
Fernandez making the play after the Blizzard came down the left wing.
Unusual position for this player, Danifard, generally on the left. As you see, he's a left-footed player. However, with the injury to Kaski,
Abrahams, the man crossing. Defensive play made by Connie Carlson. It'll be a Tulsa throw-in just outside the 35-yard line on the near touchline, and Ivan Belfiore to be the man to take it. Abrahams outside the 35. A whistle and a foul called against Cliff Calvert. We've got the coach of the Fort Lauderdale Strikers, David Chadwick, here with us. David, of course, you played in the same division with Tulsa this year and played them in the playoffs. You've also seen Toronto. Your analysis so far of this game?
I think it's been a very even game so far. Both teams have had one great chance, really, to score. Futcher in the early part of the game. And it's a very even game, really.
Futcher getting tied up with Jan Moller. Of course, Ron Futcher is a guy who's going to get in trouble the way he plays and the way he talks to officials.
Well, he's a hard man to mark, and he gives as good as he gets. And he's always around. He's had a very good season for them this year. He's got a lot of goals. But he's a tough customer, and he's always been a nemesis for us this year when we played them.
Long ball up over the 35-yard line. Gordon, I would assume you have a question for David.
Yes, well, David, I know that Tulsa came out and scoring 4 goals in the last 9 minutes to beat you and thus put themselves more or less into this game after eliminating Montreal. Tell me really what the strengths are. Are they up front? Is it all round, defensively, or what?
Well, I think the thing that they've got going for them, Gordon, is that they've been able to establish a pattern after a very disappointing start, and they've managed to keep the same pattern and basically the same players with a very few injuries. And I think once you've got that going for you, you've got a chance to put it together. And you know, they play with a sweeper, a man-to-man at the back, and they played pacer in behind the front 2 runners, and I think that's is to serve them well. And they're a well-balanced club and well-coached. I think Terry Hennessy's done an excellent job.
I think he has, and Dave, they're a predictable team, and that's because they do have the same kind of patterns, etc., etc. But you know, in soccer, if you've got the best players, then they can execute the moves. It doesn't really matter if the opposition know what you're going to do. If you can execute them right, you're going to get some victories.
That's right.
Here's Pesa trying to sneak through in the penalty area. It'll be a free kick. For the Toronto Blizzarders, Tulsa was called for either a foul or offsides there. David, thanks for joining us, and good luck with you and the Strikers in the future. Thank you.
Well done, David.
David Chadwick, been around the league for quite a few years, had an outstanding coaching year with the Atlanta Chiefs, who went to the playoffs a couple of years ago. And, of course, the Fort Lauderdale Strikers have been a fixture in the NASL playoffs for the last several seasons. Ball headed away by Terry Moore. A whistle and a foul call. There's that man Moore again, fouling Neil Roberts. And this time Toronto will get a free kick less than 25 yards away from the goal.
Of course, all the Tulsa players back again, and this is from a more dangerous situation than the previous free kick when we saw Ace take a bending ball at goal.
Roberto Benega, the man you're looking at, the Italian star. He's alongside Jimmy Nicol. Nicol around the wall, but he hit it well wide. It'll be a goal kick for the Tulsa Roughnecks with 20 minutes and 10 seconds remaining in the first half of play. And we'll take a timeout with these two teams still tied at 0-0. Toronto Blizzard, Tulsa Roughnecks still scoreless. We're better than 25 minutes into the first half of play from Vancouver. Jimmy Nicol crossing, Netzelenge header. And it was deflected a bit by Uraz Danifard, who claims to the referee that Netzelenge was on him from behind.
I think justifiably so.
Victor Moreland had put the ball up to Ron Futcher at midfield. Now we'll have a throw in for the Blizzard on the near side with 18:30 remaining in the first half of play. Tulsa, it's their 6th year in the NASL. They have never appeared in soccer ball. The Toronto Blizzard came into the league in 1979, so it's their 5th year, and it's their first soccer ball. Although the Toronto Metro Croatia franchise did win Soccer Bowl 76, 3-0 over Minnesota back at the Seattle Kingdom. So a couple of franchises seeing their first ever Soccer Bowl action. Toronto did host Soccer Bowl at least 2 years ago when Chicago beat the Cosmos 1-0 in a shootout. This one for Winston DeBose. Gordon, we talked about this last week. It seems to be a jinx when teams host Soccer Bowl. This year, Vancouver was knocked out as the host. Last year, of course, San Diego couldn't make it. The year before, Toronto couldn't make it. The year before that, the Washington Diplomats couldn't make it. And the year before that, the Cosmos couldn't make it.
That's for sure, Bob. But who could deny the Vancouver Whitecaps this season for playing some outstanding ball, and credit to them for getting the 24 wins. It is a pity that they're not here, but these two teams have worked very hard for it, as we say, and they're putting on a good display. Every player on the field is working for his life today. It's the most important game in their lives, and it's enjoyable.
And we've got a good crowd here as well. Even though the home team didn't make it, they are supporting this game. The San Diego fans did a fairly good job last year. It's 24,000 turned out for Seattle and the Cosmos. Probably a crowd somewhere in the area of 45,000 actually in the ballpark.
But I do believe they've sold the 60,000 tickets.
They have sold all the tickets.
Yes, they're watching it on television.
This is Danifard outside the 35, over the top for Pesa. A shot across the goal. It really wasn't very close to going into the net, although Diego Pesa was hoping that Laurie Abrahams or Ron Futcher could cut across and tap it into the empty net. This is similar to a move Pesa had Wednesday night when he set up Futcher for an easy goal.
Yes, received the ball from Danifard on his chest, well controlled, and drilled it wide of the goalkeeper, but unfortunately for him, wide of the goal as well. But a good effort by Tulsa.
Diego Pesa, Tulsa's 3rd highest scorer this year, 11 goals and 2 assists.
Interesting to note, Bob, on synthetic surface, Tulsa is 12-10 and Toronto 14-12, so nothing in it regarding playing on synthetic.
Danifard inside for Terry Moore. Clock shows 16 minutes remaining before halftime.
Game settling down a little bit now, a little bit more soccer being played.
And even if we don't get any goals here in the first half, I guarantee you, you're going to see the greatest goals you've ever seen coming up at halftime when we bring you the Budweiser Goal of the Year. It's going to be quite a pleasure to watch. Laurie Abrahams is offside.
I tell you, I watched those goals on Thursday night. I've seen some of the best goals ever I've seen in my career, Bob, and including 4 from Chicago. Credit to Chicago. They're always playing the attacking style.
And the goal that Roberto Cabañas scored against this Tulsa team, one of the most unbelievable I've ever seen.
Something else.
Victor Moreland near side for Ivan Belfiore. Neither team has been able to hit the net, though each team has had a good opportunity. Tulsa with Futcher knocking one just over the bar a minute into the game, and Ace Netzelenge in the 19th minute, a goal disallowed on an offside call after he had hit the crossbar with a header about 5 minutes before that. There's a future Soccer Bowl striker. Krupa. Fernandez, the man clearing it. Head ball, Cliff Calvert. Adam Krupa laying it back for Fernandez. And the fans jeer a little bit on that negative pass back to the goalkeeper.
Well, they're not happy about that, Bob, but you know, the goalkeeper could have transferred the ball out to the right side where it has gone now. So really, although it's one pass back, there's a better pass forward to initiate an attack on the other side of the field.
Abraham's high in the air. Pesa gets it down for Barry Wallace. Wallace's shot deflected on the way in. It has no steam by the time it reaches Jan Moeller. So the Toronto goalkeeper will control with 14 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in the first half of play.
And of course, resulting from that pass back, which the crowd booed at, they ended up taking a shot at goal.
Victor Moreland, midfield for Ron Futcher. Ooh, Abrahams put his head down near the foot of Derek Spalding, and they're going to call Laurie Abrahams for the dangerous play, even though he was the player in danger.
And he certainly was in danger.
Toronto, the third-place team from the NASL Eastern Division, behind the Cosmos and behind Chicago. Terry Moore will get it back to goalkeeper Winston DeBose. They finish ahead of Montreal. Tulsa won the Southern Division by 9 points over Fort Lauderdale. Terry Moore on the near side for Ivan Belfiore. Belfiore across the 35, intended for Laurie Abrahams.
Well, Belfiore always struggled to get control of that ball.
Across the 35, here's Roberto Bettiga. Through ball, Jimmy Nicol in the penalty area, and a good sliding defensive tackle made by Tulsa's Adam Krupa. Al Miller, your impressions of what's taken place since we last checked in with you?
Well, Ace Destalenquist really come into the game. He's getting into some great positions in the penalty box. The goalie scored, just showed a little bit of his flesh into that box, but he's losing Denifard, and I know Denifard's job is to mark him for 90 minutes, but he's a tough customer. He's having a great game, and the only thing that's saving Tulsa at the moment is Victor Moreland's superb play, plugging up the holes in the back, but Toronto's really applying some pressure.
Al, certainly a good comment there, because I'm looking out on the field, and just earlier I was going to say that Denifard and Ace Netzelenki are never more than 5 yards of each other, but Ace is getting that 5 yards in front of Denifard just at this time, which brings Toronto on.
Tulsa on the attack. Roberto Bettiga, who's played a strong defensive midfield game. He's knocked down by Diego Pesa. We'll take a quick timeout with 12:10 remaining before halftime. The Blizzard and the Roughnecks are still scoreless. Coming down the left side, Randy Reagan's cross headed away by Victor Moreland as we return to action. Bob Carpenter along with Gordon Bradley from BC Place in Vancouver, British Columbia. Al Miller is our man on the sidelines, and we'll be hearing from both the coaches during the game quite extensively, as well as some of the other coaches and figures from around the North American Soccer League. Adam Krupa. It's headed down by Bruce Wilson. Randy Reagan gets it back. Jimmy Nicol plays it up over the top to the streaking David Byrne. He's being watched by Val Fernandez. Byrne steps inside, but Laurie Abrahams back in a defensive position. Showed some outstanding skill in giving the ball back to goalkeeper Winston DeBose.
Excellent play there by Laurie Abrahams. Go all the way back from the front line to help out in defense.
Now he's out of midfield to receive it. Back for Ivan Belfiore. Gordon, I would have to think that Soccer Bowl gets players a little more pumped up to play a total soccer concept like Laurie Abrahams did that time than they might be otherwise.
Yes, well, you know, the first 10 minutes of this game was played at a ferocious and tense state. Bob, I'm pleased to see that it has settled down. We expected it to settle down, and we're seeing some more calculated thinking soccer now.
Ron Futcher was called offsides that time as the Blizzard pulled the offside trap, and he was beyond the defenders on the left wing. Futcher, a good assist man for Tulsa this year. Besides his scoring, he had 15 goals, but also 10 assists. And not all great scorers are great assist men. Barry Wallace, look out. Neil Roberts was there, but Winston DeBose is out to grab it. Tulsa's top three scorers were Futcher with 40 points, Abrahams 33, and Pesa with 24. Toronto, very similar. David Byrne with 44, Neil Roberts with 24, and Jimmy Nicol with 20.
all-star player for Tulsa. Barry Wallace certainly had a fine season. Mr. Consistency for Tulsa.
Tulsa scored 56 goals during the season. Toronto 51. Gordon, both of these teams are second-half teams. Toronto has outscored its opponents 30-23 in the second half. Tulsa 33-25. Both of them have scored less goals in the first half than their opponents did.
Well, I've been looking over the statistics, Bob, and there's very little to choose in all departments of these two teams. And of course, we've said before, they do play similar styles.
And when you say very little to choose, you mean they're very similar.
No question about it.
It'll be a throw-in on the near side for Jimmy Nicol and the Toronto Blizzard. Clock shows 8:13 remaining before we go to halftime. Through ball for Nicol. Another number 5, Al Fernandez, did battle with him. Nicol got the ball because he shoved Fernandez, and thus the foul call from referee Ed Bellion. And Tulsa will have the free kick.
No complaints from Jimmy Nicol there. Realized he made the foul. Pretty experienced player, represented Northern Ireland in World Cup in 1982 in Spain.
By the way, we do want to congratulate Tulsa coach Terry Hennessy. He finished second to Don Popovich in the NASL Coach of the Year balloting, but Hennessy was the winner in the balloting by the Professional Soccer Reporters Association. The PSRA did vote Terry Hennessy the Coach of the Year, and we congratulate him for that.
Certainly do, Bob, because in the beginning of the season he didn't have a lot to work with regarding finance. He's brought this team along just wonderfully well.
Tulsa had $75,000 in which to build on what it already had. It obtained Ron Futcher, Diego Pesa, and others with that money, and added those to the nucleus it had, whereas Toronto, I think, pretty much had an open checkbook to go get guys like Roberto Bettiga, Jan Moller, established veteran international players. They already had Netzelenge, David Byrne, and Neil Roberts, who didn't come cheap. They went and got Connie Carlson. Here's Terry Moore, chipping it out over the far touchline. It'll be a throw-in for Toronto.
Bob, without watching the teams play, but looking at the lineups, you would have to agree that Toronto might show more finesse, and that's in lineups, not in actual play, because they have got the likes of Ace and Netzelenge, rather Roberto Bettiga playing, and they are class players, quality players.
This is Bruce Wilson. There's your scoreboard. 6.5 minutes from halftime. Bruce Wilson laid it off nicely for Roberto Bettiga. David Byrne, 30 yards from the goal. Bettiga is down at the top of your screen after taking a hard tackle from somebody. Cliff Calvert, Futcher all over him. Good defensive play. Belfiore now gets it off for Diego Pesa. Bettiga is still down. Toronto may try to kick it out of bounds here to give him a chance to get back up, but they're going to keep it in play for the moment.
Seems to be on his face, and there isn't a leg injury at all, so hopefully he's not so severe.
He got his bell rung, you might say.
Back into it now.
Adam Krupa, ball way too long for Laurie Abrahams. It'll belong to the goalkeeper, Jan Muller.
Good gesture by the referee, asking Bettiga if he's okay and getting the nod, so the play goes on.
I want to explain something you saw a moment ago here, Danifar, with that Sean Todd Memorial Award. That's an award given in Tulsa. It amounts to a 110% award. The player who best exemplifies the Roughnecks spirit, they say, back in Oklahoma. And here's Danifar.
Well, we cannot say he doesn't give 110%. Very industrious player. Very clever player.
This is Barry Wallace at the midfield stripe. Ivan Belfiore at the 35. Pesa, Bettiga. The defensive play. Abrahams breaking through. In on goal. A save made by Jan Muller. Muller will control this one as well as a Toronto defensive mistake almost gave Tulsa a goal.
Good play by Abrahams there, although it was difficult to put that ball past the goalkeeper who had good position. Here we see it, the chase is on. Abrahams manages to poke it away from the defender, draws the goalkeeper out, but the goalkeeper's very well positioned. If anything, it could have gone through his legs, but Jan Muller stopped that.
Here's David Byrne, a long cross. Dubose calls it and catches it, and he's fouled by Neil Roberts.
Well, I hate to see a player play the goalkeeper when the goalkeeper's got his eyes on the ball, and Neil Roberts just managed to clip him there. No call for that one either.
There you see Winston Dubose stats on the season. He played every minute of every Tulsa game, 2,784 minutes. Tulsa's reserve goalkeeper is Paul Coffey, but nobody ever gets to hear about him. He's a former Chicago Sting player. 4 minutes minutes remaining before halftime, and we're still scoreless.
Tremendous kick by Jan Muller. Nearly down onto the 18-yard box of Tulsa.
Terry Moore controls it there on the far touchline. This is Barry Wallace on the near side for Ivan Belfiore. Fernandez away from David Byrne. Look out, Terry Moore. Here comes the ace. They get it back for Victor Moreland. Fans are making some noise here in Vancouver. You'd almost think the home team was on the field, wouldn't you?
Wonderful atmosphere in a wonderful stadium.
You know what they're saying? White caps.
Really? True fans.
You just have to wonder how the Vancouver players feel listening to this and knowing that they should be out there in front of their home crowd.
Certainly disappointed, Bob, certainly.
Here's Terry Moore, 18-yard line. Futcher the header. Another crack at it. Ball was touched by Randy Reagan, but it was not intentional with the hand. Play continues. Jimmy Nickel. David Byrne. He's got Randy Reagan to his left. Instead, he goes ahead to Bettiga. Bettiga tried to feed it for Ace Metzelenge, and it's Adam Krupa controlling for Tulsa. Intercepted Derek Spalding. Left side for Bruce Wilson with 2 minutes left in the first half.
Well, we've just seen David Byrne doing his thing on the right side. Now we see him on the left side. Very industrious player. Covers a lot of territory.
Bruce Wilson, short ball. Terry Moore gave David, or rather Neil Roberts, a rough ride from behind. Somebody was offsides, but they said play on as Tulsa got possession. Adam Krupa, Ron Futcher for Barry Wallace. This is Danifard. There's your scoreboard and your clock. Nobody's been able to hit the back of the net as of yet. Metzelenge did it, but he was offsides. 11 and a half minutes into the game. Check that. His shot hit the crossbar 11 and a half minutes in. His goal was disallowed 19 minutes in. Terry Moore. This one should be for Jan Muller.
Taken very confidently, no problems to Jan Muller there. Asking his defenders and players to get downfield, so it looks like it's going to be one of these long kicks. Tremendous kick this player has. However, he's dropped this one right into the second center circle. It's a good volley there by Daniford. I think Jan Muller, Bob, realised that his long kicks are just no good for the Toronto forward, so he's dropping them in now just off the halfway line to give them somewhat of a chance, although Daniford did clear that one very, very well.
40 seconds remaining before halftime. Bruce Wilson, the man with it. Long ball, 12-yard spot. Jimmy Nickel in the air. A flag was up. It's a foul against Toronto. It'll be a free kick for Tulsa with 30 seconds remaining in the first half of play.
A lot of high balls now being thrown into the area to see if we can win in the air. And of course, they've got the players to do that, both teams.
It appears we're headed to the locker room. Scoreless. We'll get a comment from Al Miller down on the field as soon as the first half is over. Hopefully we'll be talking to the coach of the Blizzard, Bobby Houghton. Only 2 seconds remaining. There's the whistle, and that'll do it for the first half of play. We're scoreless after 45 minutes here in Vancouver. Gordon Bradley, your thoughts on the first half at this time?
Well, Bob, both sides have got chances, but overall I think it's been a pretty even game. It's been a somewhat aggressive game. The ball is very, very lively on this synthetic surface. There's a lot of balls being kicked into the air to see if players can win balls in the air. Obviously, we've seen 1 or 2 mistakes which have led opposing players in, and we've gone near, but not quite there. Ace Metzelenge scored a goal. It certainly was offside. The best effort, which was onside, was Ace Metzelenge's header off a cross by David Byrne, which Roberts cleverly let go. So it's an even game. It's a very rough, physical game, which could be expected by both teams.
Well, it looks to me like your pregame plans to get Ace in good positions in the box really came off great for you.
Yes, and I think now in the second half we might hold him a bit wider and get Roberto in between them. We might see Roberto head a goal here, Al, second half.
Bobby, what are you going to say to the boys at halftime?
I think we need to close down on Moreland a little bit, not let him get into the midfield and play balls in over the back of our back four. I think we need to push up a little bit. I think we're playing too deep, and I think that we'll play Ace much wider on the left-hand side and get better into the box.
Okay, Bobby, all the best. Back up to you,
Thank you very much, Al Miller. It is halftime at BC Place in Vancouver, British Columbia. After 45 minutes of play, we are scoreless, and we'll have more halftime observations after this word from your local stations. Vancouver, young soccer players from all over British Columbia are on the field, bagpipes and a brass band. What more could you ask for? As Soccer Bowl 83's at halftime with Tulsa and Toronto 0-0. The Budweiser Goal of the Year, a part of North American Soccer League action for the last several years. We've got some great goals to look at this year. Here are the nominees for the 1983 Budweiser Goal of the Year.
83 Budweiser Goal of the Year Award. The 1983 season had some games that were blowouts. And some that were close shaves. There were own goals due to inexperience. And own goals by the most experienced players in the league. There were some great saves. And some keepers were helped by their friend, Mr. Post. But Tino has his own little friend. Sometimes, no matter how well the defenders or the keeper play, perseverance pays off. It was a year that saw Granitza score his 100th goal.
Zunino coming, 1-on-3. Di Bernardo quickly catches up. Now brings it to Granitza. Granitza's coming. Hall is overlapping on the near side. Granitza fires. Scores! What a shot by Carl Heinz Granitza! He was 25 yards out, and he bent the left footer into the upper corner of the net.
Zungel came outdoors. What may be the great Chinalia's last NASL goal. Chicago's powerful combination of Granitza to Alonso happened more than once. And ex-Sting Stephen Hagen exhibited power for Vancouver. Free kicks from Team America's young Dan Cantor. And Ray Odson to Bronco Segota with a diving header. Concentration and extra effort pays off. The footwork of Tampa's Manny Rojas. Another great goal, this time Pato Marhetic to Ricardo Alonso. Watch it again. Toronto's Jimmy Nicol off the free kick. The Caps' David Byrne controls, turns, and goal. The great Chinalia with a head flick. Franz Beckenbauer with his usual great effort. Vukovic helped Montreal to the playoffs with great moves like this. Brian Quinn must have learned from Vukovic. In New York, Cabañas taught a few great moves. And Bogey still knows where the ball belongs. Tulsa got as far as it did with long-range shots by Billy Caskey. And great control by Laurie Abrams. 1983 may have given us the last great goal from Chanalia. And one of the best last-second goals ever.
15 seconds left. One more chance for the Sting. Alonso against Moreland. Penalty area. Granitza! He scores! Over the back of his head! I can't believe it! Less than 10 seconds left. Can you believe the bicycle kick? Unreal.
The crowd believed and celebrated. But we can watch it again. Alonso head flick for Granitza. Now the 1983 Budweiser Goal of the Year. July 17th at the Meadowlands, Roberto Cabañas from Romero and Di Bernardo creates the Goal of the Year. Awesome. Again, Julio Cesar Romero to Angelo Di Bernardo. To the acrobatic Roberto Cabañas. The 1983 Budweiser Goal of the Year.
The Tulsa Roughnecks are scoreless at halftime. Hello again, everyone. Bob Carpenter along with Gordon Bradley. Al Miller down on the sidelines, of course. We saw some great goals there a moment ago, Coach. I'm sure somebody would like to see a few in the second half.
As I said earlier, I think they're some of the best goals I've ever seen, and that goal by Cabañas was something else, of course. And hopefully we see one or two in the second half. Yes, Bob.
I thought it would be a little interesting right now to kind of let the coaches go at it a little bit. Gordon, I know you and Al have been talking strategy here during the game, and maybe you can banter back and forth with the coach down on the sidelines and give the fans a better picture of what's happening down
Well, really, Bob, I was going to ask Al in the first half, and I kind of hesitated because soccer is a game of 90 minutes, but I thought I saw, Al, some kind of fatigue in one or two of the Tulsa players. Can you give us an up-to-date situation there?
Well, I thought the same. I thought Belfiore struggled. I thought Fernandez looked a bit tired. You know, they're both young boys, and maybe the pressures of the game had something to do with that, but Toronto put an enormous amount of pressure attacking down their right side, and it looked to me like Tulsa just started to weaken just a little bit at the end. But of course, Moreland and Moore have been a tower of strength in there to keep things buttoned up.
Al, do you think that Danny Fad can keep up with Ace Netzalanki? Ace is really getting on the attacking vein.
Well, I don't think there are too many people in the league really that can handle Ace for 90 minutes. You know, he's so clever, and he fools you. You know, you lose your concentration just for a minute and he's gone, and he found some great positions. I think Bobby Houghton's comments at halftime spelled that out pretty carefully.
Certainly very interesting. Of course, Ace, one of the three South African connections with Byrne and Roberts, the other two.
Okay, we've got second half action. Coaches, we enjoyed that very much, and we'll have more of the same in the second half of play. It's Jan Moller as you see Ace Netzalanki. Moller's long kick to the 35. Terry Moore, the man who headed it away for Tulsa. Coming into this game, we had 5 of the 7 leading playoff scorers in the league on the field today. Ace Netzalanki, a handball there. Tulsa player spotted it for us. They let referee Adelian know about it, and he made the call.
Excellent 1-2 by Jason Bettiger there. However, it was a handball.
You know, it's interesting, though, that 5 of the top 7 scorers in the league in playoff action were on the field today. The other 2 are from Golden Bay. Would that lead you to expect scoring, or does that kind of thing usually go out the window in a soccer ball?
Bob, we've seen some surprises this season on the games that we've done. And of course, another surprise is the 0-0 score at halftime. I would never imagine, with the potential threats that both these teams have, to come up at halftime after 45 minutes of play 0-0. That's another surprise. I'm sure it'll not be the same after 90 minutes.
Iraj Danifard will be the free kick man on the right wing for the Tulsa Roughnecks. He's looking for Futcher or Abrahams or maybe Pesa. Futcher, the man in the air. A header by Belfiore. Abrahams was offside, so it would not have counted anyway. It'll be a free kick for the Toronto Blizzard in front of their own goal. The Roughnecks lead the all-time series 5-4. They first met on a freezing Wednesday evening at Exhibition Stadium in April of 1979. Toronto won that one, but since then Tulsa has had the edge in the series. And as you can see, it's been a very hard-fought, a very close series down through the year. And this year, these teams were similar. Tulsa 17-13. Toronto only a game worse at 16-14.
And of course, both teams won their home games against each other. 2-1. The first one in July, and of course, Tulsa won the second 1-0 in August in Tulsa.
This is Jimmy Nickel down the right side, looking to cross. Fernandez backtracking. Look out, Randy Reagan. Roberts. Hit it too high. A bad defensive mistake there by Tulsa's number 5, Val Fernandez.
Certainly a little bit complacent, and a surprise to see Randy Reagan so advanced there.
Randy Reagan way up the field, and then he laid it off here for Neil Roberts, who just missed high and wide. We'll take a timeout here as the ball goes up over the top of the bar. The Roughnecks in the Blizzard are still scoreless here at Soccer Bowl 83. We've got just over 41 and a half minutes left in the game. We told you about the 10 shots in the first half of play, 7 of which came from Toronto. David Byrne had 3 of them. Ace Netzelenge had 2, 1 each for Jimmy Nickel and Roberto Bettiga. Nobody on the Tulsa team had more than 1 shot. Diego Pesa, Ron Futcher, Laurie Abrahams, the 3 that you would expect.
Well, Pesa coming more into the game in the second half. I was looking for more action from Pesa in the first half.
Does this mean something, Coach, that we are maybe in for more than 90 minutes today?
Well, I think Terry Hennessy has maybe had a talk with the team and said they've got to progress a little bit faster now and get the ball up front quicker. In the first half, I noticed they played 7 passes across the 35-yard line, didn't get forward quick enough. Toronto were waiting for them when they went up there, so I think they're going to try and get the ball through to the forward players a little bit quicker in the second half. I think they need to.
I'll tell you, between Al Miller and his guest, we have 2 of the longest and greatest NASL coaches down on the field. Al Miller with Ron Newman.
Ron, your impressions of the first half?
Well, I've been enjoying it, Al. I think going in at half-time, both coaches are happy. Neither one are losing. I think we all predicted a 0-0 tie, but there have been chances, and both teams could have scored. So I think both coaches must feel that they're quite happy with the score as it is. Now they say, if we're lucky enough to get the break, if we can score the goal, surely we can hold out for the rest of the game and win the North American Soccer League Championship. And I think that's the way both are doing it now. And it's going to be whether the Tulsa can keep up the pace, very fast pace, as you mentioned. I think if it slows, and the superior skill and technique of Toronto could be the deciding factor. But I think Tulsa are a very fit team, and they may be able to keep that pace going and destroy Toronto's pace.
Ron, you've been a coach in many of these finals, and you won a lot of finals. I guess you won every league that exists in North America. What do you think the coaches were stressing the most at halftime?
I think that they both felt very, very confident they were tight enough, and they hadn't given away too many chances. And I think that's the way most coaches are going to feel at this stage, is a final game. And it only takes 1 goal to win the game. And I think that's what everybody's got to realise is that it's not how many goals are being scored at this stage, is who's going to win the game. It only takes 1 goal to win the game. And if it comes in with 2 minutes to go, as you know, if we can score the winner with 2 minutes to go, we're very happy.
Ron Newman, coach of the San Diego Sockers, good luck in your indoor season. The champions of the NASL, MISL, and going for the championship of the NASL. Back up to you, Bob.
Al, before we do that, can I ask Ron a question?
Ron, you got a question coming from Gordon.
Ron. Who's going to score the goal?
Who's going to score the goal?
Well, it ain't going to be me. I'm not guilty.
There's a yellow card. Thank you, Al. I tell you, put three coaches together, and goodness knows what's going to happen. It looked like Bruce Wilson, a yellow card there after some rough action around the Toronto penalty area. Another look at it here as Tulsa was on the attack.
Well, there we saw Pacer coming into it again. So, seems to have been called already there, Bob, on that play.
May have been for dissent, and now referee Ed Bellion is talking to the man right there, Derek Spalding. We'll wait and see before we give it to you whether it was Spalding or Bruce Wilson. But somebody has gone into the book of referee Edward Bellion. It'll be a Toronto Blizzard ball. Jan Moeller, the keeper, one of the longest kickers in the league. He gives this one right to Ivan Del Fiore. Header ahead for Diego Pesa. Pesa lays it down for Wallace, who took a hard hit from Randy Reagan. It's Ivan Del Fiore back for Barry Wallace. 37 minutes and 45 seconds remaining in regulation time. Abrahams in the penalty area, taken away there by Connie Carlson.
Well, very coolly by Connie Carlson. I thought Abrahams was just going to flick it away there and get in on a goal.
The caution was on Bruce Wilson in that what happened just a moment ago, and the time of that was 51-53. So Toronto has had two yellow cards, and now we've got somebody getting loose down on the sidelines.
Yeah, Tommy Usion and Fuccello are warming up. I don't know what the move's going to be, but maybe Terry spots something. We'll just have to wait and see, but both players are warming up at the moment with a bit of intensity.
Well, it looks too early to make a tactical move. Would you agree? It's probably an injury move.
Well, I'm not really sure, Gordon, at this point, but I think he tends to bring people in on the right side in the second half and try to raid that flank, and they're not getting the crosses in that I think Terry would be happy with, so it wouldn't surprise me if he brings Usion on the right-hand side and Fuccello to liven things up a little bit in midfield.
Al Miller and I were thinking the same thing there, because I was thinking about Usion, a very quick winger who could help Tulsa out on the right wing. He's pretty much of a right-footed player. Tulsa is not a team that uses the wings a whole lot, but Terry Hennessy may decide to do so here. Pasquale Fuccello scored a big goal in overtime for the Roughnecks that won a late regular season game. Now it'll be Jimmy Nicol on the free kick for Toronto, about 45 yards from the Tulsa net. It'll be Dubose controlling in the air. We'll take a timeout with 36 minutes remaining in regulation time. The Roughnecks and Blizzard are still scoreless. The never-ending question in the North American Soccer League is, will the referee give them 10 yards to shoot the ball? They're set up just outside the 18 after a Toronto foul against Laurie Abrahams, and Edward Bellion has to mark him back to just outside the 6-yard box to give Tulsa 10 yards to shoot. And you got to be thinking Diego Pesa here, a man with a big foot with either foot.
Bob, this is certainly a critical situation for Toronto. With Diego Pesa got a dynamic foot, as you just said. This is certainly critical.
There's the touch, the shot, a goal! Diego Pesa! And Tulsa takes a 1-0 lead.
Well, I do think it was somewhat deflected, but nevertheless, that player's got one of the most dynamic feet. In fact, two dynamic feet. Drilled it hard and low. No chance for the goalkeeper, Jan Moeller.
It was deflected by the keeper. The ball got through the wall, but Moeller got a piece of it, and the ball looked like it could have been stopped.
It seemed to, Bob, although it was drilled past. I think the goalkeeper saw it too late to react to it. Now I think we're going to get a substitute also by the Tulsa Roughnecks.
Let's go down to Al Miller to find out what's happening. Coach, what do you got?
We're going to get two substitutions here, Bob. Bob and Gordon. Thompson Usian is coming on for Belfiore, and they're bringing on Pasquale Fucella for Adam Krupa. And they had planned to do that just before the goal started. They're going to carry on with it. But Terry sees some kind of a weakness, and he's going to bring him in and liven things up a little bit more.
Bob, Al, what do you think about him using both substitutes? Because now he's got none left in case he's got an injury and Marlon's strapped up. What do you think about Terry making both his substitutes now when we've still got quite some time left to go in the game?
Well, he's going for it, isn't he? There's no tomorrow, and he's taking a big risk. There's no question. If he gets an injury now, he's going to have to play a man down. But you know what Tulsa's like with men down, Gordon. They score goals.
No question about that. We saw 4 of them in Fort Lauderdale with 10 men.
And Al Miller saw a couple of them in the season opener when he had his team a 2-man advantage against Tulsa. Pasquale Fucella, number 4, a midfielder, 27, 5'11", 165 from England. Played with Luton Town of the English First Division. We'll tell you more about Thompson Usian in a moment. Here's Pesa crossing. Abrahams. Thompson Usian a shot. Blocked. Fucillo a shot. It may be a corner kick or it will be a goal kick. And Tulsa obviously a psychological lift now. There's Thompson Usian. He's a forward, 27, 6 feet, 165. Originally from Nigeria, had some outstanding seasons as a rookie and a young player with Lemonique de Montreal before coming over to Tulsa during the offseason.
But of course, if those 30 seconds are an indication of what's to come from Tulsa, look out Toronto.
Fucillo, a 4-assist man in 1983 for the Roughnecks. Here's Bruce Wilson throwing it in. Toronto now has to make sure they don't hang their heads a bit. And I have to think, Gordon, that coming into this game, and I invite Al to chime in if he doesn't agree, I would have to think that Toronto was the favorite coming in because they had the rest. They clinched their soccer bowl berth last Thursday night. They had to sit around for a week, which often is a disadvantage. But I think because of the number of games Tulsa has had to play this week, 2 in the last 6 days, Toronto was considered the favorite coming in.
Well, Bob, no question about that. In fact, Tulsa had to travel to Montreal on Monday night. They lost that game, meaning they had to play the 3rd game in Tulsa on Wednesday night. So now, after winning on Wednesday night, they're playing 3 games in 6 days. And it would be natural to think that some of them would have aches and bruises and stiffness resulting from those other games. And maybe that's one of the reasons that Terry Hennessy has put the 2 substitutes, which are all his substitutes in at this time. I think credit to Terry Hennessy for doing it.
Well, he's showing a lot of courage, no question about that. Netzelenge has the ball taken away by Pasquale Fucillo.
Also, I see that Danny Ford has moved over to the left midfield position where I'm sure he's much more comfortable. Fucillo is now taking the centre midfield position with Usian coming in from the right.
We're going to get a good look at Thompson Usian because he will be on the near touchline on the wing throughout the last 32 minutes of this game. It'll be Cliff Calvert on a free kick. We saw them score a goal from a situation like this last week. A free kick from here onto the head of David Byrne.
And what a goal it was.
This one too close to the goalkeeper, and Winston DeBose comes out to grab it. And Bobby Houghton is obviously unhappy with what he sees right now.
And Bob, I've just noticed David Byrne looking over to Calvert, asking him to keep that free kick further out to give him somewhat of a chance to get his head on it. That one was obviously too close to the goalkeeper.
And Winston DeBose is 6'2", so you're not going to beat him in the air with too many balls.
No, you've got to play him out away from his reach.
We'll take a timeout here. The Roughnecks have taken a 1-0 lead. Soccer Bowl 83. We've got 31-15 remaining. Here's your score. A goal by Diego Pesa on a free kick. The difference at this time, it came from about 19 yards out. Jan Muller a piece of it a couple of moments ago. The Roughnecks of Tulsa lead the Toronto Blizzard 1-0 in Soccer Bowl 83.
Well, this skillful pacer has come much more into the game in the second half.
There's Usian laying it off for the other man who just came in, Pasquale Fucillo. Futcher laying it off. Nobody in that left open area. And it'll be controlled by the Toronto Blizzard. Laurie Callaway of the Seattle Sounders has joined us. And Laurie, are you surprised at the way this thing has gone so far?
No, I'm not. I was a little concerned at halftime that neither team was going forward, especially Tulsa, where they seem to have some room with Wallace and Moreland if he came out of the back a little. Felt that maybe they would bring Usian in I noticed just as I came up here that they, right after the goal, substituted Yusein into the game, and I think we might see Tulsa go on and consolidate now. They've got the break, and they've got now a player in the side that can take people on and cause problems, and Toronto don't play that way. They play to defend. Now they've got to come out and attack, and it may be a little more open than it was in the first half.
It'll be a Tulsa corner kick on the right side. They've given an assist on the Tulsa goal. It was from Barry Wallace, who is the man who set it up for that free kick on the touch. It came in the 56th minute. 55-36 is the time of the goal.
Yeah, Laurie, there's no question. Let's see this corner kick first.
It's in, and it's a goal! Ron Futcher! And Tulsa leads it 2-0. My.
Certainly didn't look the best of corner kicks, and nothing was going to come off it. However, it seemed to be flicked on to Ron Futcher, and he somewhat put it in with a part of his body, whether it was his feet or his chest or his stomach, but he edged that ball in. There we see it, not too high, but it was flicked on twice possibly, and he seemed to be kneed in by Ron Futcher.
I think Laurie Abrahams may have touched that ball in front, and Terry Hennessy has to be feeling good about the way things are going now.
No question about it.
The Tulsa Roughnecks lead Toronto 2-0. Maybe playing 3 games in 6 days is what you need.
Laurie, I was going to say before the corner kick and the goal, in the first half we saw Ace Netzelenki coming up on that left side, causing a lot of problems. Now we're not seeing it in the second half, and of course looking down on the field we see Yusein looking after Ace, and Yusein probably has more speed and stamina at this stage because he's a substitute. What do you think that Toronto's got to do now to get the ball up to the front players, Roberts and Byrne, because they are goal scorers?
Well, I think you know, they have to. Byrne was playing extremely well as the target man up front for Toronto in the first half, but unfortunately, apart from Neslenko, they weren't catching up in midfield. Bediger was being nullified by Wallace, and Wallace was doing a good job in preventing him from playing. They've got to throw people out of midfield in support of the front two, and try and get Neslenko to cause some problems down the flanks. I think probably Neslenko would be better given a free roll at this stage, but Toronto haven't played that way all season, and I don't expect them to change now.
Laurie, I've got to ask you one more question before we let you get away. Have we seen the last of the Seattle Sounders?
I think the Seattle Sounders, as they have existed in recent years, are gone. The league have terminated the club. We hope that something will emerge in the next year or maybe 2 years, because it is one of the better markets in the North American Soccer League, and an awful lot of people, not just in Seattle, are going to miss the Seattle Sounders.
Laurie, we certainly hope so. It's a great city, a great area, great rivalry with this Vancouver team, and we thank you for joining us.
Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot, Laurie. Well done.
Thank you.
Laurie Calloway, and now, guess what? Tulsa has another corner kick opportunity. They're going to give assist to Terry Moore and Barry Wallace on that last goal. This is Diego Pesa to swing it in from the left wing. That ball headed away easily by Neil Roberts. (61-37) the time of that Tulsa goal. So they got 2 goals in 6 minutes and 1 second. This is Pasquale Fucillo, Diego Pesa, Thompson Yusein. Gordon, from your strategic standpoint, the 2-0 lead is a lot different than the 1-0 lead, and obviously it's vastly different than a tie game. What do you want your players to do now when they have possession so that they don't give it away real quickly?
I tell you, Bob, there's one thing that I always told my team, that when they concede a goal, make sure that you don't concede a quick second goal, because that does put a different slant entirely onto it. Tulsa, I believe, because they've got so much confidence in the play at the moment, that they're not going to keep possession ball. I think they're going to go forward and try and get the 3rd goal. Now, something that I want to ask of Al, if he's down there on the field, Al, do you see Bob Houghton getting anyone ready to bring in as a substitute to put some life into the Toronto team, which needs life at this time?
Well, I think he's going with his best. He's staying with the same 11. Nobody's moved off the bench to my knowledge. Everything's very intense, obviously. You can see the pressure mounting up on that bench because they're a bit frustrated. They really haven't gotten anything going this half, and 2 goals can be devastating that quickly.
That was a nice piece of soccer by the Blizzard there outside the Tulsa penalty area. But the Roughnecks were there to make the defensive play, and here comes Barry Wallace. On the right side, the quick winger, Thompson-Usean against Bruce Wilson. Back to Wallace. He had to have one more step to take a shot, and then a very bad choice of a foul, and then a very bad foul by Connie Carlson will give Tulsa another free kick just about 2 yards out further from where they scored their first goal.
Bob Wallace seemed to have lost this ball. He put it too far away from him. He was going to do nothing. He was running at an awkward angle. Now he's gotten something from it, which is a free kick in a very dangerous situation for Toronto again.
This one is exactly 22 yards away from the Toronto net. Tulsa leads it 2-0. Barry Wallace, 31 career assists. That is an all-time Tulsa record. He was a first-team All-Star player this year. There's the touch. Wallace the shot. It's blocked by David Byrne, who came way out from the wall quickly.
Well, of course, the intention was to play that ball wide of the wall so Wallace could drill it in at the side of the wall. However, it was blocked by the Toronto wall.
Pasquale Fortillo goes all the way back to his goalkeeper, Winston DuBose. The clock shows 24 minutes remaining. A lot of fans from Tulsa came up here. There's a sea of red down below us to the right. There is a sea of blue down below us to the left. Some folks from Toronto are here as well. And a lot of them from Vancouver.
Well, there's no question at this time that territorially Tulsa have got the initiative. Toronto certainly need to do something exciting to get back into this game. Roberta Bettaker has gone quiet. Ace is not putting in a first-half performance in the second half. He's neutralized by Usean and the speed of Usean, and that's a good move by Terry Hennessy, both going forward and going back.
Laurie Abrahams back defending, laying it off for Pasquale Fortillo. Fortillo looking long. He'll go for Pesa on the far touchline.
Yes, good distributor of the ball for Chillo, and that's another good move. He's going to settle this ball down, and he can start creating good attacking moves by clever and articulate passing from the midfield.
This is Roberto Bettega on the Toronto counterattack. Ahead for David Byrne. Don't let him turn and shoot or you could be in trouble. Byrne at a bad angle now. Tried to get the corner kick off Victor Moreland, and he missed Moreland with it. It'll be a Tulsa goal kick.
Yes, and he's looking at Jimmy Nicol now, looking for that support, which he really needed in that tight situation. He did what he tried to do best, was to get a corner kick. However, it didn't carom off any defender, and now it's a goal kick at Tulsa. David looking a little bit down on himself at this time.
Al Miller, you've been down by the Toronto bench. You just walked down behind the Tulsa bench. What's the Tulsa atmosphere right now?
Well, there's some great anticipation down there. You can see it all over their faces. Of course, the coaching staff is really concentrating hard on the game, but you can just kind of sense the substitute players, Billy Caskey, the injured player who couldn't participate in this game but playing all season. You can just kind of feel the anticipation of winning that old championship ring. Of course, it's a long way to go.
21 minutes and 55 seconds can be a very long time. Just ask David Chadwick. He was leading 2-0, and his team gave up 4 goals to Tulsa in the last 9 minutes to lose 4-2.
Bob and I kind of made an agreement after that game, Al, that we'd never say that this game was over ever again until the final whistle is blown.
Well, you can bet on that. You know what the game's like. As long as that ball's around, anything can happen. And, of course, just what happened with Tulsa. They were really kind of struggling, I thought, in the first half. And all of a sudden, here they are, you know, in a flash.
No question about it.
A Toronto corner kick was knocked down by Thompson-Usean. It's knocked over the end line by Uriah Danifard. No, they're going to say Bruce Wilson. So Tulsa will get a goal kick. And there's the soccer ball. Terry Hennessy. I don't know, is that a... That could be a preview of things to come. Terry Hennessy and Soccer Ball in the same shot together, while Bobby Houghton of Toronto obviously very concerned.
Must be very concerned at this stage of the game with 20 minutes left to go.
Usean against Netzelenge in the air. Bruce Wilson holds it in but can't keep it in. And it'll be a throw in for Tulsa on the near touchline at their own 35-yard line. That man has been kept fairly quiet this evening.
just playing very strongly in the first half, as Laurie mentioned, but the second half it's a different situation. But he's not getting the support and the help that he really needs to be a threat up there. In fact, Al, I can ask you the question now. David does seem to be a little bit tired. Do you see that happening in any more players of the team? And is it right with David? Is there some fatigue showing with Toronto?
Gordon, I'm sorry. The noise is deafening down here. You'll have to give me that question one more time.
Just asking Al, is there any fatigue showing in the Toronto team? I see David Byrne getting a drink from the sidelines, or he has been getting a drink. And, of course, he's had his hands on his hips quite a bit, which is an indication of tiredness.
Well, Bobby's still not done anything. You know, they're still going with 11. Nobody's warming up. And, you know, I think he's gone with them all season long, Gordon, and I don't think he'll make a change, particularly with Byrne and Roberts. And, you know, they've been doing it for him all season. I think he's going to hang in there with him because I think he's struggling a little bit for front players when you think that he's got his other front player on the field in Battaglia.
Yes, and I see in his substitutes he's got one defender, one midfield player, and Jeff Wegerle, who hasn't had much playing time, as the only forward in the substitute three.
Maybe it's time to talk about what's going to happen next, because Toronto has a free kick 19 yards from Winston DuBose in the Tulsa goal. They have Netzelenge and Roberto Bettiga there, two very skilled and very tricky shooters. And don't forget David Byrne, who's standing out there as well.
And of course they've got to get it past 11 Tulsa players because they're all back there defending.
And about 8 of them are in the wall. Bettiga, the shot, it was headed by Abrahams. DuBose punches it away. Cliff Calvert and Futcher headed it out of there. It'll be a throw-in for Toronto on the far touchline.
Well, Futcher quickly closed down Cliff Calvert then, stopped that center coming over.
This is Calvert, number 10, the man who will throw it. Loose momentarily in the penalty area. Finally, Iraj Danifard teaming with Canadian citizen Terry Moore.
Every Tulsa player's coming out. The offside must be on, and it is. Ace Netzelenke's caught offside with Wilson, with Roberts.
They pulled the offside trap perfectly, and we'll take a timeout. 19:15 remaining in the game. The Roughnecks 2, the Blizzard nothing. Facillo, Ron Futcher is offside for Tulsa. It'll be a Toronto free kick. Down on the sidelines, Alan Hinton knows what it's like to be trailing in Soccer Bowl. His team lost to the Cosmos 1-0 last year. He is Al Miller's guest. Take it away, Coach.
Okay, Alan, well, you've been here just a year ago, and what do you think Bobby Houghton and the Blizzard have to do now to get back in this game with just a short time remaining?
Well, they certainly have to do something, and I think that what they must try and do, in my opinion, is to get Bruce Wilson forward down the left, who can cross some balls, Jimmy Nicol forward down the right, and cross some balls in the air for Neil Roberts to use his main asset, which is his heading ability, and that's the only way, for me, Toronto's going to get back in this game.
Alan, one other question. How come you look so relaxed?
Well, I think that, you know, I'm not in the coaching business anymore, as you know, and it's been an interesting time for me. I love the game a lot. I love the athletes. I love the winning and losing the competition, but I don't enjoy all the aggravation behind the scenes, the same as you, I suppose.
Alan, can we expect you back in this league soon?
I don't know. I haven't tried to get a job. I haven't even completed my resume, but, you know, I love the game very much, and, you know, I'm into some other things, but when you come to a big occasion like today and you see the players and the atmosphere, and, of course, my dear friend Terry Hennessy is the coach of the Roughnecks, and I must congratulate him on doing an outstanding job. Both of the goals were set plays I know he and Steve Earle worked so hard on, but I was disappointed with the Toronto wall. I mean, for an experienced bunch of players, I mean, a wall doesn't disintegrate as badly as that wall did, but I'm so happy for Tulsa, so happy for the coaches, so happy for the people of Tulsa, and of course, I was there myself in 1979, and I'll be celebrating tonight with them.
Alan, we're happy to have you here with us, but it's not over yet.
Well, it isn't, but I'm confident the Tulsa Roughnecks defense can hang on.
Okay, back up to you, Bob and Gordon.
Alan Hinton, of course, the coach of the Roughnecks in '79 when Terry Hennessy was his assistant coach.
But Bobby said that he hasn't written his resume out yet, and it's not a joke or a pun when I say it'll take him a month to write that resume out, because he's got a history behind him.
Hey, why should he look for a job? The Sounders are still paying him. I think. This is Randy Reagan, stopped by Barry Wallace, and
good play by Barry Wallace, and a good outlet pass on the right to Facillo.
This ball is Ace Netzelenge in midfield. Pasquale Facillo giving chase. Pasquale has his arms all over him, and finally Ed Bellion blows the whistle.
Well, I think it was a good whistle by Ed Belly in there. He was prepared to play the advantage rule, but when Ace had 2 players on him, then he gave him the free kick.
It'll belong to Derek Spalding and the Toronto Blizzard up to the 18 over the top of Fernandez. David Burns centering. Terry Moore knocks it out of there. I've got to make one point right now because I've been watching Tulsa for the last 6 years. I've done games for them on radio and television. This franchise has never done anything easy. Never. And I have to think that Toronto's going to get back in this game sometime between now and the end. It's not a lack of character or anything. It's just been in the cards. Tulsa has always had to fight in this league for everything it's gotten. And you have to think they're going to have to fight to hold on to this lead.
Well, certainly one goal by Toronto will make a different game of it. But at this particular time, it doesn't look like it's going to come, Bob.
We shall see.
And here we've got Bettiger down in the box again.
He's taken another hard shot on his head or his face. They kick the ball out of bounds so that the referee will stop it.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going to get it this time.
The clock has been stopped with 14:44. We'll check on the injury and come back. It's Tulsa, a 2-goal lead, only 14:44 away from the possible end of soccer ball. Getting your bell rung right here.
No question about it. Both players went up to play the ball, but I think they hit heads, and of course, Roberto Bettiger came off in the worst situation.
Looked like Roberto Bettiger for Toronto and Terry Moore for Tulsa. As you can see, Bettiger, an experienced international player. Al Miller back to the sidelines.
Well, Jeff Wegerle's warming up on the sideline here, and it looks now that Bobby's going to make some kind of a move. He'll probably bring another front player in, and Jeff may probably play a little bit wider and try to sling some crosses in, just like Alan Hinton was talking about.
Al, would you think that he'd bring a defender off, a midfield player, or do you think he'd bring Roberto off? It doesn't seem to be his day today.
I think he's going to watch the injury first. Then I think he'll make his decision. We're going to find out in just a minute.
Good cross from Bruce Wilson. Dubose trying to punch it out of there. Where is it? Who's got it?
Wow.
Finally, the Tulsa goalkeeper. Maybe that's one time when AstroTurf helps you a little bit because the ball bounces up high enough where they can't slide and try to knock it into the net. It just kept bouncing high, which makes it tougher on the attacking players.
Well, Bettiger claimed very, very high to get at that ball and headed way across the goal again. You see DeBose now struggling to punch it out or to get a hold of it. He was trying to punch it. The Toronto player got there first, but there's the big bounce. And it was headed cleanly back.
A smaller bounce and Ace Netzelenge might have been able to do something with it. Now it's back to the other end, and Jan Moller, the Toronto goalkeeper, has it. He hits a knuckleball down the field that's not spinning at all. And we've got another report from Al Miller.
Okay, Bob, well, I just talked to Dave Turner, the assistant coach, and he said they're not really going to bring anybody off at this moment. They're just warming the player up to get the player's attention, to gee him up a little bit because they want some extra effort. They got to have it at this point. An interesting move by Bobby Houghton.
I didn't know you coaches did stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good psychological move, Bob. Well done.
We're sneaky guys, eh, Gordon?
This is Bruce Wilson on the left wing, down to the end line. Abraham's defending. Wilson made contact with him. It'll be a Tulsa free kick, and with 13 minutes remaining, the pressure is mounting on the Toronto Blizzard. They've got to get on the scoreboard pretty soon. And I think that's been pretty evident here today. The fans have been mostly on the side of Tulsa.
Well, of course, there's a little bit print in the papers to say the same thing, Bob, that led the crowd probably to favor Tulsa instead of Toronto.
This is Barry Wallace. I have a feeling, though, if Toronto would have scored those 2 goals, they might have turned on Tulsa. Well, you know how these soccer fans are.
Fans are fickle.
This is Ace Netzelenge.
What a beautiful player.
Ahead for Neil Roberts, Terry Moore on him like a cheap suit, as they would say. Abraham's a break down the middle, trying to keep possession to his left. A shot! And he didn't get anything on it, or it would probably be 3-0.
Well, he had Spalding and Carlson going, and if one of them had put a foot ahead of them, he would have brought him down, and probably the penalty would have been called. They kept away from him, but that allowed Abrams to keep the hold of the ball. Good positional play by Jan Mullen. Good anticipation to get that ball.
Abrahams is a player who doesn't hesitate to take a dive. Most great strikers will do that. Quinalia's, I'm sure, gotten a few penalty kicks in his time that weren't warranted, and so did Granitza and the others.
Yes, they're a little bit naughty and a little bit selfish. And being selfish is not bad, because if I have a striker that's selfish and he can give me 20 goals this season, well, he can be selfish a little bit.
It's controlled by Jan Moller. 11:15 remaining.
This is Larry Abrahams breaking his way through there. He did a great job just to keep control, and then he didn't get anything at all on the shot.
He didn't, and of course a similar shot in the first half where the goalkeeper was equally well positioned. But a good piece of acceleration there by Abrahams.
The referee tonight is Ed Bellion, the linesman Howard Throwpfeifer and Gary Shugarts. And Al Miller, your assessment of the officials tonight.
Yeah, well, I think Ed Bellion's having a fabulous game. He kept it really tight in the beginning. You know, there's not a lot of love between these teams. He kept it very tight right from the start, and now the game's turned out to be soccer, and I think he's really to be commended, and surely the referees looking on, including the commissioner, must be very happy with his performance.
Of course, Ed Bellion lives down in the Dallas area, and he sees a lot of action in Tulsa, and hasn't always gotten along the greatest with this Tulsa team. Not many referees do, but he has called an outstanding game tonight, and you can see the Blizzard is ready to go to the bench.
Just want to put my mark on that, Al, that the officiating today's game has been excellent.
It looks like the player Toronto's going to pull, surprisingly enough, will be Neil Roberts. This is Pesa with control for Tulsa. Pachillo, first-time pass. Yusian is offside.
Well, I tell you, Bob, I'm not in line with the play because when I've commended the referees and the officials, to me that wasn't an offside call.
Toronto will go to the bench. They will pull their striker, Neil Roberts, and bring in Jeff Wegerle, number 14. Wegerle is a forward, 29 years old, 5'8", 153 from South Africa. Of course, the Wegerle family with his brother playing for the Tampa Bay Rowdies, the Cosmos, now Fort Lauderdale. Steve Wegerle, a great winger.
I do believe they've got another player playing in Europe there, Bob, another Wegerle.
So the substitution for the Blizz. They've got to get a goal soon. And then another one. When you're down 2-0, about all you can really hope for is overtime.
Well, 1-7
Although, we were saying the same. We were saying the same sort of thing about Tulsa trailing Fort Lauderdale 2-0 with 10 minutes left, and I'll be darned if they didn't get 4.
Let's put that game behind us.
This is Terry Moore, but those are the kind of things that happen to you when you're getting toward a soccer ball, and some of the crazy things that have happened to this Tulsa team this year would indicate that maybe they are a team of destiny to call on that sports cliche, but they really have appeared to be that this year.
Well, one thing that Tulsa don't seem to be doing, and they shouldn't do it, is let complacency in. They've got to stay with this game right through the 90 minutes to hold on to the lead.
Terry Moore heads it away. Number 14 is Wegerle. It's Wallace with the clearance, as well as Yusian. Abrahams and Yusian play a little give and go there. Abrahams, nice turn around Bruce Wilson. Has Pesa to his right. He would have been offsides had Abrahams knocked it through there.
Very clever play by Abrams.
Danafard, Ace Netzelenge trying to knock him from behind. Wallace crossing. Yusian in the middle. Look out for Abrahams. One touch, in on goal, and Muller is there.
Well, Abrahams was in on that move from the beginning, and of course was in on it at the end. Very well done by number 14.
Steve Wegerle's substitution for Neil Roberts came at the 80:03 mark. Jeff Wegerle, excuse me. Steve's probably watching somewhere and jumped out of his seat when I said that. Terry Hennessy, Steve Earle, the man up and behind him, former Tulsa player. They've done an outstanding job coaching this team, which, let's be honest, doesn't have the names like Quinalya and Cabañas. Probably the biggest names they have are Futcher and Abrahams. Winston Ubo's in goal, but this is a very workman-like team. They do not depend on one or two players to do it for them.
Bob, the whole organization has got pride in themselves, and it's a credit to Tulsa organization.
7:45 remaining. David Byrne, the touch for Toronto. It's knocked down for Cliff Calvert. This is Netzelenge, who's had a quiet second half, as Gordon told you earlier. Jimmy Nickel, 30 yards away. Probably not a very good choice.
A little bit more in hope than anything else. I don't think he expected to score from that range and didn't have enough behind it in any case.
The Tulsa bench. Jerry Reardon, the player with his hands on his face. Ivan Belfiore, the trainer Larry Agee. Zelko Bilecki, who hasn't played this year because of a back injury. And the coach, Terry Hennessy.
Of course, Ron Futcher now takes the lead in the playoffs with 6 goals, overtaking Stan Telecki of Golden Bay, who scored 5.
Futcher with 6 goals and no assists for 12 points. Barry Wallace has had 2 assists today. Interesting to note Ed Bellion telling DeBose to get that ball in play, but he's much quicker than what he anticipated to do and what he intended to do, so he's not going to let things slack off and let players waste vital seconds. On the left side, here comes Toronto. It's Jeff Wegerle, number 14. Danafard on him from behind. Wegerle run off the ball. Victor Moreland comes up to take it, just simply outnumbering them on defense. This is Moreland, the captain of this Tulsa team, former Northern Irish international. Wow, look at this. If nothing else, it'll waste a lot of time. I think Victor will go straight back to the defense and say, let me out of here. You see in crossing, knocked down by Connie Carlson. It's Spalding releasing it now for Jeff Wegerle. Bob, just wanted to make a comment there. Although it was a great play going up front by Tulsa, the player from Toronto who stayed with the attackers was Bettiger. All the way down was Bettiger from the beginning to the end. Now he's feeling his groin area. He may have strained something from that long run. It was a 70-yard run that he made, and credit to him because he's the oldest player on the Toronto team here, and several other players could have given chase and didn't. 5:55 remaining in the game. Tulsa that far away from its first Soccer Bowl championship in its first Soccer Bowl appearance. One thing I was going to add for Alan Hinton when we talked to him, it was under his term in '79 the only other time the Tulsa team advanced beyond round 1 of the playoffs. His team beat Minnesota and then beat the Cosmos one game before New York came back to win it in New York with a mini game. And that's the only time Tulsa ever got past the first round until now. Miller is down on the field with Tulsa Roughnecks general manager Alex Gutierrez. We'll get to them momentarily. Wegerle crossing. Netzelenge! A save! Rebound! Over the top of the goal! Netzelenge, a backheel shot. Dubose made the save, and Bettiga knocked it up over the bar. And Al Miller, as we look at the replay, I would imagine Alex Gutierrez is breathing a little easier right now.
Alex, what do you think about that? You can see it right there on the monitor.
Tremendous save by Winston DuBose. Backheel by Estelenque, saved by DuBose, and another one off the Bettiga shot. Absolutely exceptional.
Alex, tell me your feelings right now.
I'm as high as a kite, Al. I've never been as high as this in my life.
I don't think you're standing on the turf down here.
I'm not.
Okay, Alex, really good talking to you. Congratulations to a wonderful job you do. You can say goodbye. Yeah, we have one more question to ask you, Alex. What are you going to do after the game?
Are you kidding? We've got everything loaded to the hilt. We're going back to the Westin Hotel. The players deserve it, the fans deserve it, and everything is on us.
Alex, congratulations on a great job. Back up to you, Bob.
I'm going to remember that when it comes dinner time. Well, he's certainly done a great job, and congratulations to him, although it's a little bit early, and I'm not going to say that Toronto are out of it, but things are moving on down. How much time have we got left there, Bob? Can you exactly see? 5 minutes remaining in the game as they check on some injuries in the Tulsa-Bentley area. I tell you, when that ball was ricocheted from DuBose, when he didn't make the clean save, although he made a very good save, Bettiga had some acceleration behind it to get in on it and sky it over. There we see the cross coming in, yes, by Wegerle. Ace controls it, back heels the ball. It's partially saved, but Bettiga comes in furiously and throws himself into the thick of things. Couldn't keep the ball down below the 8-foot bar. DuBose clears it away as the clock runs with 4:55 remaining. It'll be a Tulsa free kick at the 35-yard line, and Terry Hennessy can start to taste it on the bench. They brought all the Tulsa players up here. This is Usian. That one will go right to Jan Muller. And with 4.5 minutes remaining, he'll have to put it long and put it down deep. The Tulsa Roughnecks are looking for their 20th victory in their last 26 games, including today's. This is Wilson against Abrahams. A long ball from Barry Wallace gave him problems. Barry Wallace has played very well today, and I think Al Miller's turned out to be a prophet of sorts, Gordon, because he thought that Wallace would be the most important player on the field for Tulsa today. Certainly had a consistent season, played very well today. Wegerle falls down. Tulsa goal kick. The clock continues to run. There it is. And they're starting to smell victory on the bench, and all those folks watching back on the cable outlet and over the air back in northeastern Oklahoma. I think Terry's looking at the clock and not looking at the play now. It'll seem like an eternity to the coach, while the 4 minutes will seem too fast for Bobby Houghton. Pachillo, no masking his design there, all the way back to the keeper. Dubose, Parr, Val Fernandez. Wallace back to Fernandez.
Certainly look two tired teams, and the momentum, of course, with Tulsa, because they've got the 2 goals, and being goals that does wonders for you, of course.
Abraham's intercepting.
Both teams have played extremely hard, Bob. A lot of running today, and of course difficult to play on a synthetic surface, especially when we consider it 76 yards wide.
Well, with 3 minutes and 10 seconds remaining, it's all but over. Every time Tulsa gets it down the field, more precious time ticks away from the Toronto standpoint. Diego Pesa, Barry Wallace, a little keep away here. Kind of like the Cosmos like to play it. Danifard's going to try to make something happen and thus gives up possession.
Well, it was good to see him attack defenders, and that's what you need on a team. Somebody that doesn't hesitate and has the confidence to attack defenders.
That's Alenge against Fernandez, his shadow. Ahead for David Byrne. Abraham's another striker back defending. No call. Play on, says referee Ed Bellion.
David seems to be giving a nasty look to Ed Bellion. Expected to get that foul there called.
Danifard with 2.5 minutes remaining. Pesa! Oh! The ball came in a little bit low. He had to bend way over to head it. Surprising that he got anything on it at all. It was well wide of the net. It'll be a Toronto goal kick with 2:15 remaining.
As Danifard hit a difficult ball, it seemed to be bending. Pesa had to get his head right down and nudged it, glanced off his head to the wide side of the goal. Good effort, though. Credit to them both.
Wegerle, bad ball intended for Netzelenge. Abraham's intercepted for Barry Wallace. At midfield, under 2 minutes remaining, and Tulsa will, unless a miracle happens, become the '83 Soccer Bowl champions. A team that only once had advanced beyond the first round of the playoffs. They had to win 15 of their last 20 to win the Southern Division title. They beat Fort Lauderdale in 2 games. They beat Montreal in 3. And there are the Tulsa fans.
Well, it certainly shows what kind of a game this is, Bob, and I'm bringing back that game that we will never forget. They seem definitely out of it with 9 minutes to go, playing with 10 men in that last game with Fort Lauderdale. To come back with 4 goals is brilliant, nothing less than brilliant, and they seem to have done that and made hard work for themselves, just as you've mentioned, all season long. There's Terry, must be ecstatic within.
A lot of people felt that he should have been Coach of the Year instead of Don Popovich. They would probably agree now, but Popovich certainly had a great season with Golden Bay. The professional soccer reporters voted Hennessy their Coach of the Year, so everybody gets an award. 1 minute remaining. Tulsa leads it 2-0.
And we don't have to ask Terry the question, which award would you prefer, winning the championship or being Coach of the Year?
He's going to have them both to a certain extent. Danifard is knocked down. It'll be a Tulsa free kick in midfield. It's now just a matter of time.
Bob, you mentioned it earlier, but he hasn't been playing because of knee ligament problems that he had against Fort Lauderdale in the playoffs. But Bill Caskey has did a great job for this team and should be credited.
Photographers are all over the Tulsa bench right now. Shooting the soon-to-be victorious coach. Only 20 seconds remaining. Goals by Diego Pesa on a free kick. Goal by Ron Futcher on a corner kick have given Tulsa the victory here and the Soccer Bowl championship. 10 seconds remaining.
But Terry Hennessy's not going to see the next 10 seconds. He's swamped.
Netzelenge, knocked down, play on. The game's going to be over, and Tulsa is the Soccer Bowl champion.
That's it.
General Manager Alex Katerick, who helped Terry Hennessy build this team over the offseason, there with the victorious coach. And the Tulsa Roughnecks, a team that nobody expected to even be here or beyond the early rounds of the playoffs, have won Soccer Bowl 83. Here's Rick Lowenhertz, the owner of the Roughnecks, one of the 4 oil men who own this franchise in Tulsa. Gordon, your thoughts on this Tulsa team and what they have done?
Bob, of course, I've looked at Terry Hennessy, but I'm looking at the, and credit to Terry Hennessy, I'm looking at the forlorn Toronto players. little bit disturbing for them. I think they did come into this game as a favorite, but Tulsa showed them the way. They were aggressive, and they stuck to their guns, and the two substitute changes that Terry Hennessy made at that particular time was an excellent piece of coaching. To be honest, I don't know whether I would have done that myself.
Well, there's some of the spoils of victory, and we'll take a timeout here. The Roughnecks are the Soccer Bowl champions. Final words on this game after this word from your local station.
Audi introduces the luxury sedan voted Car of the Year by Europe's Motor Press. The new Audi 5000S, years ahead in German technology. Wind tunnel design to be the world's most aerodynamic luxury sedan. With self-diagnostic electronics, extraordinary quiet and performance. The new Audi 5000.
The Tulsa Roughnecks are the 1983 Soccer Bowl champions as they beat the Toronto Blizzard 2-0 here at BC Place in Vancouver, British Columbia. Bob Carpenter back along with Gordon Bradley and Al Miller. And we've heard your thoughts. Let's go down to Al Miller now for his thoughts, and he's with the losing coach, Toronto's Bobby Howden. Al?
Bobby, you've had a wonderful season. You've done a great job coaching. I know how you must feel right now. A couple of comments for the folks out there.
I think the first goal made a lot of difference. They played very well in the second half. Once they got the goal in front, I think they forgot about their tiredness and they got going. And my only disappointment is that we didn't play very well in the second half. We had a good first half and looked like we were going to, if we could have got a goal, maybe we would have won it. But
Bobby, do you think his tactical changes gave you some problems on the left flank?
Well, really, both the goals are from set plays, and the set plays they always touch off on the near post, and you know that they're going to have the three players on the wall. But the quality on the day, if you do it well on the day, it works for you, and it was really the set plays that did us.
Bobby, a great season. Go back to Toronto with your head up because you've done a great job, and I'm sure you'll come back next year with an even better team.
Thanks very much, Al. Thank you.
Back up to you, Bob.
Thank you very much, Al Miller. The Tulsa Roughnecks about to receive the Soccer Bowl, the NASL Championship Trophy, and they earned it today with a 2-0 victory over the Toronto Blizzard. Terry, or rather, Gordon, I guess that sometimes the final takes away a little bit of luster, the losing team, from what they accomplished during the season. I thought that was nice of Al to say that Toronto will definitely go back home with their heads up because this is the final, but you had to be awfully good to get here.
No question about it. All the viewers, including ourselves, Bob, must have felt for Bobby Howden and the team and the organization because they've had a great season and they did exceptionally well to come here. However, we've got to credit Terry Hennessy and his organization because they excelled today as they have done at the right time of this season.
The city of Tulsa is the smallest market in the North American Soccer League. They only had $75,000 to go out and get new players last year. Terry Hennessy did a great job. He's with Al Miller right now.
Terry, what a great finish to a tremendous season for you. Your feelings right now?
I'm delighted for everyone connected with the franchise, Al. The players done marvellous. That was our third game in 6 days. At times we looked a bit sluggish and they made us work very hard, but at other times I thought we played some excellent stuff.
Terry, your old free kicks, the old restarts, did it again for you.
Well, we practice them a lot, like every other team, and there's always a chance for anything around the box, a deflection or whatever. They had a couple of the same, which they could have scored from. I'm not bothered how they go in as long as they go in.
Terry, you going to celebrate a little bit tonight?
You bet your life.
Terry, tell the folks out there what your owner, Carl Moore, did for you with your kids.
Well, my daughter had gone back to England for a holiday, and my son is living out in Australia, and he brought them back to see the game. My son got here 10 minutes before half time.
That was a big surprise for you, wasn't it?
Big surprise, well worth it.
Great ownership, great coaching, great club, and back up to you, Bob.
Thank you very much, Al Miller. Congratulations to Terry Hennessy. His Tulsa Roughnecks are the 1983 Soccer Bowl champions. And we'll have more from British Columbia after this timeout. The Tulsa Roughnecks, Tulsa, the 1983 Soccer Bowl champions. The league is in a series of transition right now. By the way, we're just told that Diego Pesa of Tulsa has been named the game's most valuable player. He got the first goal. Your thoughts on what he did today?
Bob, we've spoken, not for the first time, but several times this season, that over 50% of the goals scored in professional soccer today are offset plays. And, of course, the point was proven again today. Nego Pesa scored off a free kick, and then the other goal came off a corner kick. Nego Pesa deservedly was somewhat the player of the game because that 20 minutes that he played at the beginning of the second half was real exceptional, and credit to him for initiating what eventually was the winning goal for the champions.
And there you see the champions with their gold medals over their shoulders. They have also been presented with the soccer ball. At least they are getting ready to be presented with the soccer ball. There you see some of the Roughneck reserves who were not dressed today, but definitely were a big part of this team throughout the season. And we'll pick up some of the sounds and the view from the field as Victor Moreland, the captain of the Roughnecks, accepts the soccer ball. And you can see that the players have exchanged jerseys, thus Moreland wearing a Toronto shirt.
Well, that's a tradition, and of course, yes, he is wearing a Toronto shirt.
Soccer Bowl 83. Now let's salute the 1983 champions, the Tulsa Roughnecks.
Wonderful moment. There's a traditional lap of honor going to be done by
You know
Roughnecks.
what's amazing? They've been doing these laps of victory for about the last 4 weeks. Every time they've won a crazy game at home, they've done this, and now they get to do it holding the soccer ball.
Well, Bob, it's just like it's been a crescendo, one game better than the other and then the other. And, of course, the team came on at the right time. They got off to a terrible start at the beginning of the season and just seemed to turn things around so well. They just must have believed in themselves. They've got a lot of pride in themselves, and they fought their way through every game.
This team was 2-8 after 10 games. They came on to win 15 of their next 20. They've now won 5 of 6 playoff games, including the Big Daddy here today, as they take Soccer Bowl 83 with them back to Oklahoma. Gary Hennessy hoisted up by his players, holding that cup. I would imagine with the British flavor to this team, there will be some serious brew being tipped tonight back at the hotel. We should go down to the field now, where our man Al Miller is with one of the 4 owners of the Roughnecks, Rick Lowenhurst. Al?
Rick, you've had some kind of a day today, haven't you?
Well, maybe the greatest day of my life that I've had so far.
Well, congratulations. You guys put a lot of money out, and you owners deserve a lot of credit. But I want to know your exact feelings and what you're going to do tonight.
I don't know. It's one of those feelings that I can't describe. It feels like it's going to come exploding out any minute yet, and I hadn't done it, and I think I will have some kind of night tonight.
Rick, you have a lot of great people in your organization, and they gave you a tremendous effort today, from Terry Henderson, Stevie Earle, Alex Kateric, all the way down to every player that played in that game today and all season. You must be very, very proud.
Well, I am proud, and that's what makes a champion. It's not the 11 guys on the field. It's the whole organization, the sponsors, and best of all, our fans.
Rick, what do you think those people in Tulsa are doing right now? You think they're dancing on the streets back there?
They are dancing on the streets tonight.
Well, have a great celebration, Rick, and our congratulations. Back up to you, Bob.
Thank you very much, Al Miller and Rick Lowenhurst. Congratulations, the owner of the Roughnecks. Gordon Bradley, your final thoughts on this game and the future of the North American Soccer League.
The North American Soccer League is going to be a successful soccer league in the years to come. The Tulsa Roughnecks are just on a high, and they deserve to be on a high, every member of the team and every member of the organization. Good luck to them. You're a credit to the game.
And a final comment from our man, Al Miller. Coach? Al, if you can hear me, go ahead and give us your final comment. Well, obviously, Al Miller's having some problems hearing us, but on behalf of the coach of the Tampa Bay Rowdies and the man next to me, Gordon Bradley, I'd like to thank all of you folks for joining us throughout the regular season for our Team America telecasts here on the Anheuser-Busch Network around the USA, and, of course, for our playoff action. And hats off to the Tulsa Roughnecks, the 1983 Soccer Bowl champions. This broadcast has been a presentation of Anheuser-Busch Incorporated and WATV. Gordon Bradley, Al Miller, and yours truly, Bob Carpenter, are employed by Anheuser-Busch. Thanks for joining us throughout the season. And now, so long from beautiful British Columbia.